Stop and measure your life. Stop and measure your life. Stop and measure your life. Now, that is a very instructive topic. That's a very instructive topic right there. The first word in that title is stop. Yes. I want you to think about that word, and I want you to think on that word. The word is stop. The word is stop. So, here we go. Stop means stop. Stop does mean stop. Stop doing what? Stop running about. We all need to learn not just to run. We all need to learn sometimes to stop as well. To stop and do assessment of our lives. Stop means shut some things down. Learn to find time and opportunity to just shut things down and to just say, okay, let's stop it. You see, even if you don't solicit for attention, even if you are not looking for attention, even if you are not looking for noise and for frivolity and vanity, they surround you anyway. Vanity surrounds us all the time. Frivolity surrounds us all the time. And just activities. You are all in the midst of noise, activities, and just actions. Things just going on all around us all the time. And it is wisdom to just learn to pause, to press the pause button. Just pause or just stop. Stop it. Just, especially this is especially difficult for ladies, women, and I feel for women this time, and I feel for women especially when it comes to this topic. The only woman is going to be easy for are women who actually don't have children, women who are not married. So if you are a woman who is not married, good for you, because then you'll be able to apply this truth. Or if you're a woman that is married but who is already past the age of child, you don't have small children, then it's good for you as well. You might be able to cope. You might be able to carry out this instruction. But the bottom line is that if you are a young woman, or you are a mother, and a young mother, or you have young children, or who are going to school, who are going to high school or primary school, or who are in the kindergarten, that is not going to be not going to be easy for you to stop, because just the whole atmosphere of being a mother on its own, just the whole rowdiness and noise and distraction of running about with the kids, especially when you have more than one child, it's just like unbelievable to even think of stopping. Most of you have heard me talk about my times of solitude that I go out every month to go and be with the Lord. I mean, I couldn't even suggest that to my wife, even though I would suggest the same thing to everybody in the church. But I understand that people who have children, especially who have school children, or young children, that it's almost impossible for them to stop. And it's so sad, and it's so sad. And that's why, personally, I will propagate the idea of having helpers or house helps, or or making enough money to be able to afford to give your children out somewhere, to some people, or to have some people to help you in the house. So, like I said, the title of this message is Stop and Measure Your Life. And I'm just saying that for women to be able to stop, either they have to have a very understanding husband, such that their husband will agree to stay with the kids for some time. Because how do you stop? It's one thing to stop, just say, okay, I stop today and I don't want to do anything today. But the kind of stop that I need will demand for you to have at least 1 day or 2 days, maybe 3 days, better still. You might need to have at least a few days off just by yourself, when you are just alone and you are able to listen to many messages. Maybe you just go to a solitude place. You go and go into solitude, go listen to a lot of messages, go and review a lot of these messages once again. Go and listen to messages on your calling. Go and listen to messages on the kingdom of God. Go and reassess your life. Go and go and update yourself, and go and and answer some critical questions about your life. And that's what I needed to do about 20 years ago, when I started really living by plans. But I needed to stop, and I went away for a week, and I needed to listen to messages about reassessing your life, so I write books. I just to put my life together, and I planned my life for the next 20 years at that point. So the first planning I did was planning my life for the next 20 years. It was also like funny to me. It was like incredible. It was like, it's possible. How will I do this? But I discovered that the only way for you to be able to get your life together and plan your life for the purpose for which you have been called and for which you've been created is to stop. Everything has to start with stopping. You've got to stop before you could begin to move. And that's what Jesus meant when he said, if anybody wants to go against you, if anybody wants to build a house or a tower, that he must first of all stop. He must stop and start by doing assessment, analysis of his resources. So the same thing with life. If you really want to be effective, because Jesus said otherwise you will begin to build and will not be able to finish it. So if you want to live your life in an effective way, if you want to build your life and make it impactful and meaningful, and you don't just want to you don't just want your life to be chaotic, but you want your life to be meaningful, to be productive, to be goal-oriented, to be purposeful, and to have results that will make you proud and that will make God proud of you, you need to stop. You need to stop, like Jesus advised us. You need to stop and make analysis of your life. You need to measure your life. And I'm going to give you some measurement today, and I'm going to give you some standards of effectiveness that you could use to actually measure your life, that you could use to measure how you've lived so far and how you're going to live going forward. And so Jesus' words are very strategic, and they are very wise words, and they are very needful words. So, because it says otherwise you will begin to build and you will not be able to finish it, and you'll be full of shame, you'll be disgraced, you'll be ashamed, and all that. So, but Jesus was using that as an allegory and as a metaphor. But because, building a tower is nothing compared to building life. So if we need to stop when it comes to building towers so that we're not disgraced and we're not messed up, talk to me what we need to do when we're talking about life. How much more important building a life is than building a tower or going to war with another country. So that was an allegory. It doesn't mean that you have to go to war, but it's talking about anything you want to do, anything you want to build, in the process of starting any project, in the process of doing any enterprise. I mean, the Bible tells us as well in the book of Proverbs that the wise starts every enterprise with with counsel, or with knowledge. So if you are really smart, if you are really wise, you have to stop first. Go gather knowledge. Go educate yourself. Go upgrade yourself. Get all the knowledge that is necessary, and get counsel. Seek counsel with God. Seek counsel with understanding, with research, with yourself. Gather your life together. What kind of impact would you like to make with your life? What kind of result would you like your life to have? What kind of, how would you like to end your life? What kind of result would you like to have at the end of your life? And even after you are gone, what kind of result do you want to have? How do you want to see your children when you are gone? How do you want the memory about you to be when you are gone? How do you want the world to remember you? How do you want your memory, your legacy to be? What kind of life do you want to live now? What do you need to do for that right now? And all these kind of things are absolutely necessary. They're absolutely necessary for us to become who we are really meant to be, and to really live an effective life. So this week, when we are talking about problems, this is all connected. So like I said, the first thing we need to do is to stop. And my question to all of you is that, have you learned to stop, really? Have you really learned to stop? How often do you stop? How often do you just shut everything down and just say, you know what? I need a break. I need a break for myself. I need a break, not just a break to sleep, not just a break to recoup your energy physically, not just a break to rest, and to take some time out to rest, but to do something much more purposeful, to do something much more deeper. Take a break to analyze your life. Take a break to measure your life. And have you ever asked yourself what is the measurement of your life in terms of how many years you already lived, and how that is doing? Are you satisfied with the result you are having right now with how many years you have spent on the earth? Many of you are in your 30s, or you are in your 40s. Some of you are in your 50s. So if you have lived so long on planet Earth, what is the measurement of your life? What's the measurement of your life? How will you measure that life that you have lived so far? How will you measure it in terms of satisfaction? Are you really satisfied? What are the numbers you will give yourself? What are the pass marks you have? And will you document? Can you try to document some of your milestones? Can you document some of your milestones? Can you document some of your milestones? Can you document your milestones? What are the track records you have? What are the track records that will make you to be proud that you have been around for 30 years of your life? What are the track records that will make you to be proud that you've made enough impact? What are the track records you have? What are the results you could present yourself with, and be satisfied that God has noticed, and that you will present God with, and present your children with, that you have lived really for something worthwhile? Or you are just running, or you are just busy running. Maybe you are just busy running at a scatter. You are just busy, doing what the whole world is doing. And what is the whole world doing? The whole world is engaging in the exercise of vanity. The whole world is engaged in the exercise of vanity. The whole world is just, they're just engaged, busy with emptiness. Just running upside down and up and down. And it's like the most important thing for the world is just to run. It doesn't matter where you are running to. It doesn't matter what direction you are going. It doesn't matter what destination you arrive at. It's just about running. Everybody just running at a scatter. That's what the whole world is about right now. That's what everything is like. So you just follow the news or the things that are going on around you, and you do the same thing. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. But how do I propose that you live? How do I propose that you live? First, you need to stop. You need to stop and stop that survival instinct. Stop that instinct to just try to make a living and push yourself and run up and down and go to work and make money and make more money, and stop and analyze your life. So how do I propose you to to live afterward. How do I propose for you to analyze? How do I propose for you to measure your life? What are the measurements? And because if we want to measure life, we must have some metrics. We must have some standards. So, but the thing I want you to measure is the standard of effectiveness of your life. And let me just, before I start to give you the standards and the measurement and the requirements that you could use to measure your life, let me first of all ask you, not just, somebody is saying the rat race. Yes, we need to stop the rat race, but and then measure. But before you measure, let me ask you this question. I want you to answer two questions in one. To give me one answer to two questions. The two questions are, but you need one answer. Just give me one answer. The two questions are, how old are you right now? And how will you assess your life? How will you assess the effectiveness of your life so far? How old are you? And what is the assessment? What is the measurement? What is the result? What kind of measurement? What kind of assessment will you give yourself? If you want, you can write some things. If you want, you can write some things, or you might not write. You could write to yourself or for yourself. But that's the starting point, and that will help you to know that do you really need to stop or not for real, and do you really need to measure your life all over again or not? So how old are you? And what past mark will you give yourself? How will you measure your life? How will you measure the effectiveness of your life? What have you done here so far? And how far has that been? Has that been the kind of result that you dream of having? Is that the kind of result that you dream to have? Is that the kind of result you want to have? Is that the kind of life that you like to live? For those who know in their heart that they are not satisfied. For those who know that they have not started yet. For those who know that they are underperforming. Well, this measurement or this advice I'm going to give you might help you. You remember you were talking this week on the series of problems. And I said we are all created to resolve one problem or the other. So if you say you are satisfied with your life, then you must be able to tell me what are the problems your life has been able to provide solutions for. So if you say you are satisfied, then you must tell me, then you are telling me that you are ready to die right now. And when you die, there will be a whole bunch of people or a whole, spheres of life that will be grateful to you that you live. That, it's just like saying Steve Jobs died, and at the point that he died, he was ready to die. And even though he died of cancer, but he said that was the greatest thing that ever happened to him, because that actually propelled him to even do more. But he has left a mark. He would never be forgotten anymore. History would never forget it, because he has been able to accomplish the purpose for which he came to the earth. He has carried out an assignment. So the idea is not just about living. So the idea is not just to be here, to have been here on the earth. Just to have been here on the earth, that is nothing. That is not, it's not a purpose. Nobody will be created and nobody will be sent here to the earth just to be present, just to say, I was here as well. Just to give a mark, just to, mark the journal and say that, oh, I was on earth as well. I was here for 30 years. I didn't do anything. Nobody knows about it, but I was here. That is not the reason why you are sent, and nobody was sent to just make the numbers. No, you are not sent to the world for such a purpose. If everybody that is ever created, everybody that is ever sent to this world was sent here for some specific purpose, for some specific goals and missions on earth. So if you are given life, and if you are given birth to, and if you are living today, it is because there are some problems that were supposed to be solved by your life. Your life is supposed to be lived in exchange for some problems that are solved. Your life is supposed to be spent. Like I said the other day, your life is constantly being poured out. It's being poured out. It must be poured out in exchange for some solved problems. Like I said, your life is like this, constantly being poured out, constantly being poured out, every minute, every second. It must be converted into solutions to some problems. It must be, your life is going out anyway, it's becoming empty, you say. So if you are 30 or 40, it's as empty as this. And then, but the thing that is poured out must be converted into some solutions, into some solved problems. If your life is not being converted, and we are not seeing where it has been converted to, or what problems or what solutions have been converted to, then you have just wasted life. You have just poured out your life for emptiness, or into emptiness, to vanity. That's why people go to hell, and that is why God condemns people. So you have just wasted life in that case. But if you have been pursuing God, if you have been doing the will of God for your life, if you have been resolving the problems and the situations that God sent you here for, then we will see the result. You will be able to show a whole segment of life where you have affected, or you'll be able to point to how many people have been, whose lives have been bettered, improved, or whose problems have been resolved, or whatever, as things must have been changed thanks to your life. So if you don't have that, it means that you might have been a failure or a disappointment. And nobody would like to think of himself as a failure, of course. But for you not to be a failure, you don't just have to say, I'm talking positive. Oh, I'm not a failure. Oh, I'm not a failure. Oh, I'm not going to be a failure. It's not just about positive confession. You must go beyond positive confession into actually, making something happen so that you are not a failure. You must actually walk towards not being a failure. You must walk towards it. And the only way for you to walk towards a fulfilling life, so that your life is not a waste and it's not a failure, is to actually resolve those problems that you are sent here to resolve. It's for you to actually discover those problems that you are supposed to resolve and resolve them. So, number one, let me give you some criteria on how to measure your life. Like I said, stop. First of all, you stop. So what are the criteria to use? First of all, the number one criteria is you must know, like I said yesterday, you must have an inventory of problems that are in your heart, or situations, or some promised lands or spheres of influence that are in your heart. What are the burdens that are in your heart? What are the burdens that God has put in you to resolve? What are the problems? Make a list of problems in your country, in the world, that maybe the top 100 problems or the top 20 problems, then reduce it to the top 10 that are your burden. But out of that top 10 problems that are the burden of your life and of your heart, you reduce them to the top 3. So the top 3 problems that are bothering you in life as those problems that you want to address, so those ones that you want to focus on. So you could start with number 1, number 2, number 3, or you could start with number 3, number 2, number 1. But you must have a list of issues that you want to resolve. And number 2 thing that you want to do to measure your life is this: make a list of your skills. Make a list of your skills and your potentials. Ask yourself, what are the things I can do? So maybe you can read, you can write, write them down to the mundane things. I can cook, I can dress, I can, all kind of things that you can do. I can preach, I can, I'm a professional, I can do this, I can do that. Anything that you see that you can do, make a whole big list of them. And then ask yourself the next question: how many of these skill sets could I use to bring me to my purpose? How many of these skill sets will actually help me to attain the goal and the purpose that I have burden for, or that I feel God has called me or created me for? Then ask yourself the next question. How many of these skill sets am I already using? How many of these skill sets am I already maximizing? The next thing you want to do analysis of those skill sets that you have potentially and tell yourself the truth. Which ones have been well developed and which ones are yet to be developed? Which ones have been well developed and which ones are yet to be developed? Of course, you know what to do next. If you know that you have these potentials or you have these skill sets but you have not developed them, you know what to do next. What to do next is naturally to go and see if, find out those ones that you have not developed. See how many of them. It's not important for you to just go and develop all of them. No. Find out how many of them will help you to move faster or to get to your destination faster. So find out those ones of those skill sets that will facilitate your fulfillment or your fulfilling of purpose faster. So then zero in on those ones and then go and, develop yourself in those areas. Okay. Those are the more practical things to do. Let me give you another set of measurement. That is what I spoke about right now is measuring your potential, the things that you could use to actually fulfill yourself. Now, let me give you another set of questions that you could use to measure yourself. If you really want to live an effective life, and I'm so sorry, I feel so sad right now because I'm thinking many of these people have been Christians for so long and they've been in churches. They've been taught that the only thing they really need to do is just to keep on coming to church, come to church every Sunday, come to church every Sunday. And many of them have been going to those churches for years, and I don't know what they've been taught. I don't think the churches have been really effective to teach people how to maximize life, and that is so sad. That is so sad. If the churches have not, people just waste their lives. I mean, years of their lives, just being religious, and they don't even know the difference. They don't know that, just going to church and doing church activities is being religious. It's not being effective, and it's not being productive. I feel so much sorrow. I think even the way we do church all over the world has to change. I think the way church is done have got to change totally. Church has got to be reshaped and refashioned to bring out the best in people and to bring out effectiveness in people, rather than just activities and religious, just mundane things, doing the same thing over again and dreaming of having different results. That's what people call the definition of craziness, madness, that you are doing the same thing, going to church every day, just going and coming, and still thinking and hoping that you have some miracles one way or the other, that something will happen. That's just madness. Religion is a bad thing. Religion is a bad thing. Religion has just been destroying people. It's so sad. It's so sad. But I think we have to fix that in Africa, especially. We need to fix that in Africa. At least the Western people don't respect religion too much. They don't respect church too much. So they do go about their lives, fulfilling their lives. But church people in Africa respect church and religion too much. And church has got to be reformed. We've got to have a different understanding of church. Church has got to be reorganized and remodeled to bring effectiveness in people. Anyway, let me give you another set of questions that will help you to measure your life better. Number one, to measure the effectiveness of your life. That is why now I'm coming to the core of this message, why I am giving this message under problems. Measure your life by whose pain you have managed to remove. Whose pain has your life removed? So far, you have lived so far. Where are the people? What is the list of people? What is it? How many people you have managed to wipe their tears away? That you are the one who has removed their pains. Whose pains have you managed to remove with your life? In fact, as a matter of fact, has your life been dedicated to removing people's pains? Has your life been dedicated to removing people's tears? How dedicated are you to that? How much of that is your life doing on a daily basis? Whose pain have you dedicated your life to removing? What mechanisms have you put in place to remove people's pains? What system have you put in place to remove people's pain? Because removing pain is also another variation of solving problems. Even the fact that we are on this platform right now, it is solving our problem. It's removing pain of communication breaches. Even the fact that we're using iPad, iPhone, those is removing our pain of not being able to interact. So whose pain has your life been devoted to removing? And what are the systems that are functioning for you, that you have put in place to help you actually, obliterate the pains of others? Number 2, how effective have you been in solving those problems for which your life was given to you? You know the list. You can make a list of the problems that you know you are supposed to solve with your life. How effective have you been in resolving those problems? That's why we need to stop. We all need to stop. We need to pause and answer these questions. If you don't, then you'll just be running scatter on the earth, and you'll just be missing. Sometimes you hit the target, sometimes you miss the point, sometimes you miss the target, sometimes you hit it. You're just living like a chaotic life of emptiness and frivolity. So stop and measure your life, my dear. We need to do it. We all need to do it. And you don't just do it once in a lifetime. You need to practice it regularly. Always stop and measure your life. Maybe on yearly basis, maybe on quarterly basis, or maybe on by annual basis. But you must stop constantly to measure your life and to see how much you are going, by plan. Next thing you want to use next measurement that you want to use to measure your life is make a list of the people that you have decided to pleasure with your life. Your life must pleasure. The fact that we're on this platform, Facebook, that is somebody who has created a system that we are using to pleasure each other, to bring pleasure into somebody's life. The fact that we were using our smartphone, that is somebody who has created a system that we use to bring pleasure to ourselves and to the pleasure of other people. The fact that I am coming to you is a medium of me, a system of bringing pleasure, pleasuring your life, pleasuring you. So who have you decided to pleasure with your life? Whose life have you decided to pleasure? what area of life, what people, what field of life have you committed yourself to bringing joy to, pleasure to? That's why I'm going back to Africa. I must go back to Africa. I will not leave this world the same. Africa will not remain the same. Before I leave this world, I will not leave this world with Africa being the state it is right now. I am going to set up a system. I'm going to put things in place that is going to pleasure the whole black race, the whole African people, all Nigerians. I'm going to live my life to put things in place to bring continuous, perpetual pleasure for them for the next hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years to come. I'm going to dedicate myself to pleasuring. I'm going to commit myself to pleasuring the poor people, the desperate people of our world. I'm going to dedicate myself to pleasuring people of this world in general, to bringing them to the source of eternal pleasure. I am going to do my best to remove the pain of my continent. But the way we've been taught and the way we've been deceived is as if it is only our pleasure that matters. I mean, it's totally against the Christian doctrine. Jesus left his pleasure in heaven, came here to be able to pleasure us. Jesus was so committed to pleasuring us that he gave his life for it. But we, instead of us living for the pleasure of others to bring joy and righteousness, peace, and joy to the life of others, we only want to bring it to our own lives. So egocentrism and selfishness has blinded us totally. And even the churches we have they are propagating this kind of doctrine that it's only your joy that matters. It's only, what matters is your own pleasure. And so we are using God to get our own pleasure. We are using God to get our own joy. We are using God to build our own pleasure, our own mechanism of pleasure, self-pleasuring. And it is the same egocentrism that takes people to hell. Because when we come to give our lives to the Lord, what is supposed to happen is that we are supposed to reject ourselves, deny ourselves, so that we begin to live for God and for others. And the only commandment in the New Testament talks about love, loving God and loving others. That's why it says, who is my neighbor? It's about living for God and for your neighbor. So, you must answer yourself that question. This is your life that you have lived so far. This 30 years that you have lived, or this 20 years that you have lived, or this 40 years that you have lived, whose pain has it been committed to removing? Whose pain has it been dedicated to removing? Or whose pleasure has that life been committed to, and whose pleasure has it removed? I mean, has it given? Whose pleasure has it been committed to, and whose pleasure has it been lived for? Next point. This is so serious. You remember I've been telling you the whole week that nobody is here without a problem to resolve. That we are all created to resolve a problem on the earth. That we are all sent here to resolve a problem. Just like Bill Gates resolved the problem of having everybody to have a computer, personal computer. Steve Jobs, smartphones. Just like, Thomas Edison, bulb in the house, electricity. Just like, Isaac Newton, mechanism, cars and everything that we have, industry. Just like everybody has an assignment. There is a problem that we're all supposed to resolve. Just like our eyes is created to resolve problem. Our nose created to resolve problem. Our hands created to resolve problem. Our ears created to resolve problem. Our legs created to resolve problem. Our mouth created to resolve problems. We are all created to resolve problems. There are problems that you are sent to this world to resolve. There are assignments that you are sent here to carry. Now, the question that I have next is this. And I want you to think on this. This touches my heart, making me emotional. The next criteria, the next parameter I want to give you is, whose tears have you decided to eliminate? Whose tears have you decided to devote your life to? Whose tears have you decided to put a stop to? Can you imagine how many women are crying all over the world? Can you imagine how many mothers are weeping every day? Can you imagine how many children? Can you imagine how many homeless people? Can you imagine how many poor people? Whose tears, whose sorrow, whose tragedy have you dedicated your life to stopping? It could be through technology, it could be through invention, it could be through agriculture, it could be through love, it could be through smile, it could be through production of clothes, it could be through anything. It could be through anything you have the gift for. Whose tears, whose sorrow have you decided to put a stop to put an end to? Whose tears affect you in the first place? Whose tears are a concern to you? Whose tears are your burden? Does anybody's tear even bother you apart from your own? Have we not become numbed to other people's tears? Have we not become dumb to other people's tears? Have we not become emotionless? Have we not lost our heart, our soul, our feelings when it comes to other people's pain and tears and sorrow? How do you measure your own life? Do you measure your life just by the car you use? Do you measure your life just by the house you have? Do you measure your life by how beautiful your children dress? Are you measuring your life by the mundane things of this world that will pass away anyway? Are you just measuring your life by the things that will be burnt in fire anyway? All these things will be destroyed in fire. But Jesus said we should measure our lives by the eternal values. That's why he said that we should gather our treasures in heaven. Measure your life with something that will last beyond this life. Measure your life by something that will last beyond the physical, mundane things of life. Measure your life with something that will outlast you. Measure your life with something that will be counted to your credit in eternity. Measure your life with eternal values. Not just with some mundane things that say, I have a good wife, a good husband, good children, I go into a good school. Hey, give me a break. Give me a break. There are people crying in this world. There are people dying in this world. There are people helpless in this world. I mean, if you live in the West, you know what I'm talking about. If you live in the West and you have been to any third world country, you will discover that we are living in a very wicked world. Nobody really cares about the third world. Nobody really cares about anybody's pain. Nobody really cares about anybody's tears at the end of the day. Because if you have been to any third world country, you will just know that we are all very wicked. We all care only about our comforts and our own joy and our own pleasure at the end of the day. It's a wicked world. And when people say, why did God create hell? You know? When you see where people live on a daily basis here in the West or in Europe or in America, and you compare that with what is happening all over the earth, you think some people are really concerned about other people's tears? Next point that I want you to use to measure your life is, Whose joy is your priority? Apart from your family, whose joy is important to you? Is it important to you to give people joy? Is it important to you? Is it anything to you to live a life that will just give people joy, that will make people happy? Whose joy is a burden to you? Whose joy is a concern to you? Whose joy concerns you? Whose joy is important to you? Apart from egocentrism, apart from yourself and your immediate family, of course. Whose joy is your concern? What have you done? What mechanism do you put in place to really make sure that you bring that joy to those people? What are the mechanisms that you have put in place to really make sure that you wipe out the tears of those people around you? Or those people, you must have a burden, you must have a segment of the world, you must have a sphere of life, you must have an area of human endeavor, or you must have a definition of people that you really want to touch with your life. You must have a way about some people that who really joy that you are concerned about, that you want to really bring that joy to. Some people are writing, I'm asking whose joy is important to you. People are saying my family and my friends. No, that's not what I mean. I'm not talking, whenever you are concerned only about you, your family, and your friends, Jesus said, what does it profit you? What does it profit you when you are only concerned about doing good to people who are good to you? When you are concerned only about, the joy and the happiness of your family? What profit? God said we are not rewarded for those kind of things. Jesus said you are not rewarded for that. You are only rewarded when you are truly concerned for living for others. That's why the story of the Good Samaritan was told in the first place. Jesus was telling us that your neighbor, your life should be dedicated to living a life to show love and concern for other people rather than your immediate family. So you must have a burden, you must have an assignment in your mind. You must be able to define the group of people, the category of people that you want to, whose joy is your concern, that whose joy is your priority. Of course, you are going to take care of your family. We are not talking about that's natural. That is instinctive. That is an instinct. Instinct to take care of your own, to cater for your own, to protect your own, and to bless your own people. But that is instinct. That is not Christian love. But Christian love, that's instinctive love. Even animals have that love of caring for their own. But Christian love is actually living for the larger good of people, of the whole world. That is what it means by love your neighbor as yourself. Next point. Next parameter that you could use to measure your life is who has succeeded thanks to you. Who has succeeded thanks to you? Or who has succeeded because of you? So my question, the last question I was asking is, who has succeeded thanks to you? Who has succeeded thanks to you? Whose success have you dedicated your life to seeing? Measure your life by whose success you have succeeded in bringing about, in facilitating. Who have succeeded in fulfilling their purpose thanks to you. Who have succeeded in discovering God thanks to you. Who have succeeded in life, in their aspiration, in their goals, in their, in their dreams thanks to you. Whose success is your concern? Whose success is your concern? For whose success are you working apart from your own family and your own self? have you decided to help succeed in life? What sphere of life? What sphere of science? What are you going to use? What are the instruments? What are the mechanisms that you have put in place to help people succeed? And finally, whose life generally have you contributed to? Whose life have you improved? Or whose life are you committed to improve? Or what sphere of life, what area of life, what category of people is your life dedicated to improving? Or where or in whose life are you investing your own life? Or what area of life are you investing your life to improve? Well, that is why I call this message, Stop and Measure Your Life. Stop and measure your life. I hope I've been able to make the point. I hope I've been able to communicate my point that we all need to stop. And not just stop, and not just keep on running around the world and just running at a skelter in vanity. But we actually need to stop and measure our lives.